Hi there. Welcome to my channel. I'm Zoe Binning. I'm a wedding business consultant. I've had years of wedding planning experience, and as a part of that, what I'm here to do is to help you to plan your own wedding. So I'm talking today about one of the key things that you need to consider first, pretty much before you do anything else on this wedding planning journey. And the reason I'm talking about this is it's one of the things that people often do not do. They just don't think about the money and the budget. And often when I talk to clients and I'll say to them, what's your budget? And some people say, it's 10,000 or it's 30,000 or whatever it may be. Sometimes people say, I don't really have a budget. And I say, okay. And, they say, I'll just spend whatever I need to spend. I've got enough to spend on what I want. I said, that's fine. I said, so, how much money are you thinking this is going to cost? And, they're like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so I'll throw a few figures at you and you tell me when that seems about right. So I'll say 10,000. 15,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 100,000. And at some point during that journey, they're going to start going, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. And then they realise that they do have a budget, and everybody has a budget. Now, your budget might be £10,000, it might be £100,000. That doesn't matter. It just means that you do have to stick within that amount so that you don't go mad and end up bankrupting yourselves, because to be quite honest, it's one day and it's a fabulous day and it's a special day, but you don't want to bankrupt yourself for the rest of your life for the sake of that. So you have to sit down and you have to think, what am I going to spend and what can I get for my money? And that's what I want to chat to you about today. So I'm going to give you 5 top tips for budgeting for your wedding. I'm not going to tell you how much to spend, but I am going to give you some indications of how to go about thinking about your spending. So the first thing to think about, and if you really have no idea of what your wedding is going to cost, the first thing to think about is how many people are coming to your wedding. So approximately 50% of your wedding budget is likely to go on food, drink and the venue. So once you've worked out how much it's going to cost per head, multiplied that out and added the venue fee, that should give you a reasonably good indication of roughly half of what it's going to cost you overall. Now, if that figure is okay, fabulous, you're on the right tracks. If that figure makes you go green and feel a little bit sick, then you're going to have to rethink either the number of people you're inviting, or the venue, or the food options, just to work accordingly. So number 1, how many people are coming to your wedding? Number 2, who is contributing? Are you paying for it yourselves? Are your parents giving you money? Or are they paying for all of it? Are friends or family members giving you money? You need to look into that and make a decision. And if you need to ask, you've got to ask, because you've got to know. You can't just assume, because even if somebody is paying for it for you, they might have an idea of what the budget is. And so you do need to figure out what that is in order to progress. So work out how much they're offering to give you, if they are, or how much you've got to spend, if you do. It might be that they're offering to buy particular things for you, so your dress, or the wine, or your bridal bouquet, or whatever it may be. But figure out where all that money's coming from and what it's going to go on. The next thing to think about, number 3, is what do you need to consider? So we've already talked about the venue and the guest list and food and drink. You're going to have to pay for the ceremony costs, whether that's a church wedding and everything that goes with a church wedding, or whether it's the registrar's fees for a civil ceremony. You've got to pay for your marriage licence. You've got to pay for transport, possibly either for yourselves or for your guests. Wedding rings, wedding dress, suit, anything like that. What about attendance? Are you going to have bridesmaids and groomsmen, or bridesmen or groomsladies? And if so, what are they going to wear? And are you paying for it for them, or are they paying themselves? Hair and makeup, a wedding planner, if you're having a wedding planner, a photographer, videographer possibly, a florist, a cake maker, music, whether that's daytime music or evening band or DJ or whatever. Entertainment, you can have any other form of entertainment. You've got to think about the styling and the decor for the venue. You've got to think about your stationery, invitations, orders of service, table names, table plans, menu, all of that kind of thing. What about thank you cards as well at the end? Favours. Are you having favours? Are you buying gifts for parents, for bridesmaids, for groomsmen, for whomsoever? Do you need to spend separately for the night for accommodation for the night of your wedding, or is that included in the venue hire? And one of the most important things you need to think about is wedding insurance. Now, this often gets left, but ultimately, once you've started booking and paying deposits for things, wedding insurance is absolutely key. So please just remember that as well. Once you've worked out what you're going to be spending on and which of those elements you do or don't want, you need to break down the budget to identify how much you should spend on each area. Now, this is a very basic rule of thumb, but to give you an idea of the various elements of probably the cost per element, you're looking about 50% for your venue and catering. You're looking about 15% for outfits, accessories, hair, makeup, that kind of thing. About 10% for flowers, for decor, for any styling items. Another 10% for photography, videography. 5% for entertainment, whether that's music during the day, entertainers, all of that kind of thing. Another 10% then would cover things like your stationery, your cake, any gifts, any fees and insurance, transport, that kind of thing. And I would always say shave off a little bit of extra out of that budget for a buffer. So it's what's called your emergency fund. So what happens if you book everything, you hire everything, and then you think, hang on a minute, that isn't how I want to do this? If you've got a little bit of a buffer, so 5 to 10% ideally, to keep back just in case. And then to be quite honest, if you don't need it, well, you can put it towards your honeymoon or whatever. But it's always worth just having that little bit extra to be on the safe side. Don't forget, you might also need to take into account wedding planners' fees. So if you're going to hire a wedding planner, their fees need to come into the equation. However, don't forget, they can often help you budget, and they can sometimes secure you discounts with suppliers. So you've got to take that into account as well. And then also don't forget about budgeting for your honeymoon. So I haven't included that in the percentage breakdown, but it might be that that's what you're having instead of a gift list for people to sort of contribute towards your honeymoon. It might be that you've got that sort of ring fenced anyway, but don't forget to add that into the equation if you're paying for it. So the fifth and final thing, and probably the most important thing of everything, is stick to your budget. That's it. It's simple as that. Once you've decided on the key things, stop looking. Don't go to wedding fairs anymore. Stop looking on Pinterest. Stop looking on blogs. Stop looking at sort of wedding inspiration online. There will always be something bigger and better and different. Always. That's just the way of the world. But realistically, you've made that decision. You've decided what you want to do. Go with that. Stick to your guns. Don't start again. Don't start. Keep looking, because you'll end up with just so much stuff and end up blowing your budget. Less is more, and honestly, please trust me on this one. Just stick to your guns. Okie doke. So just to very, very quickly reiterate, when budgeting for your wedding, the 5 things to consider are: number 1, how many people are coming to your wedding? Number 2, who is contributing to the day? Number 3, what do you need to consider and include in your budget? Number 4, break down that budget to work out what your spending is on each area. And number 5, and probably most importantly, stick to your budget. So I hope that's useful. To give you far more detail and information on each of those areas, my podcast, Money, 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 from the podcast The Icing on the Cake, will tell you all you need to know on the subject. There's a link in the description below. Please, if you have any questions, please do come back and ask, and I will obviously answer those for you. If you like this video, if it's been helpful for you, then please give me a little thumbs up. And it would be fabulous if you were to subscribe, and then I'll keep giving you videos and more information and more help, so I can make sure that you cover everything you need to cover to plan your wedding. So good luck with your wedding planning, happy planning, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.